This is Danny Thompson with the BuzzCity post-game show. This is game number 18, and we're live here on Happs TV, YouTube, Facebook Live, and everywhere you can hear podcasts and great television shows. I am your host, Danny Thompson, senior NBA writer for the three-point conversion covering the Charlotte Hornets, and this is the most comprehensive post-game show talking about the Charlotte Hornets. And tonight is game number 18, the first stretch of the start of a homestand, 3 games in 4 nights at Spectrum Center, and it did not turn out the way they wanted to tonight. The Charlotte Hornets fall to the Indiana Pacers by the score of 116-106 tonight inside Spectrum Center. It was a bunch of things that we had seen previous and some things we haven't seen tonight. Charlotte once again got off to an interesting start. Before we get into the post-game show tonight, I want to let you guys know, once again, appreciate you joining in. For those who have not joined, thank you for coming for the first time. And also those who have been here before, once again, thank you for tuning back in. And since if you like and want to subscribe, as you see in the top left-hand corner, go ahead and subscribe to me on Happs.tv at Danny Thompson. Like I said, that's my handle here on the Happs TV app, because when you download the app, it's a great platform like for journalists like myself to be able to make it super easy to be able to speak and talk about things like the Charlotte Hornets on a regular basis. Also, if you have any comments or things you want to post, by all means, please share it in the chat as well too. Also, if you are enjoying the broadcast, please download the Happs TV app. Please subscribe to my content today so you know the second I go live, you know exactly what's going on, and you get 100 coins just for signing up that you can always donate and join the work. Like I said, if you're stopping in the chat, always say hello. My main man, Mike Patton, as usual, stopping on screen to say hello as well. I appreciate you. I appreciate it, Mike, as always. My cousin's online. Appreciate cousin. I don't know which Facebook user you are. Go ahead and sign up for Happs so I can figure out who you are. All right, let's get into tonight's game. Listen, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the best of times for Charlotte to start the game off because Charlotte got off to a good start. Devontae Graham knocked down a couple shots early in the game to give the Hornets the lead. But what happened with Charlotte always happens in games. It seemed like the starters got off to a good start, and then it just started. The wheels on the bus started going down, and it went down pretty quickly in the first quarter. And once the wheels went off, it just completely just went downhill from there. Charlotte started the game up 10-3 in the first 4 minutes, the first 3.5, 4 minutes of the game, and then Indiana started taking control of this game. A couple 3-pointers by Justin Holiday in the first stretch, and then at that point, the Hornets were up 13-11. After PJ had a turnover. And then next thing you know, the Charlotte Hornets made their first set of substitution at the 6:43 mark of the quarter. And then that's when the wheels on this bus started going down at this point. Indiana came in after the substitution and literally scored the very first 10 of the next 12 points in about maybe, 2 minutes. A couple threes from 3-pointer from Jeremy Lamb, Domantas Sabonis, who was everywhere tonight. We'll tell you more about how great of a night he had. He got a couple shots. Malcolm Brogdon was unstoppable in the first quarter, getting to his spots on the court. And, if those who don't know how good Malcolm Brogdon is, tonight was another one of his textbook quiet games that you think he doesn't have until you look at the score sheet. He has 25 points. Brogdon was surgically just cutting through the Hornets the entire rest of the first quarter, and by the time you realized it, Charlotte's lead of 13-8 or even 13-11 had turned into the Hornets being down 30-15. Indiana dominated, literally. Excuse me, that stretch from the 7-minute mark was 13-11, and literally scored. If you look at the numbers, it was 24-2 in that stretch, 23-2 stretch in that first quarter. The bench wasn't getting it done. Wide open shots were coming everywhere. I said Justin Holiday was knocking down threes and getting layups. Sabonis was doing his thing on both ends of the court. You saw how when he was on the court, he was basically either in the post or at the high post, hitting guys all over the court. And by the time you realized it, Charlotte was down 32-15, and into the first quarter was 36-19 after Doug McDermott pretty much scored with less than a second to go in the first quarter. And really, like I said, the first quarter for Charlotte was not pretty. They didn't shoot the ball very well at all. They had some stretches and moments in the quarter where they were getting it together, but really, like I said, that stretch from about the 6-minute mark up until the end of the quarter, Charlotte couldn't do anything. At the end of the first quarter, everybody was pretty much negative for Charlotte. So Holiday had 11, Malcolm Brogdon had 10. Like I said, it was a surgical like performance for Malcolm Brogdon in the first quarter. So second quarter comes out, and you saw Charlotte was just literally down in the second quarter. The lead got up to 17. Like I said, they started down 17, and then Charlotte started chipping back in the lead. They started chipping. Malik Monk finally got in the game, and Malik Monk was playing well. Gordon Hayward started finding his shots like Gordon Hayward has been doing. He had 10 points in the quarter. Charlotte got the lead down as low. They actually tied the game and took the lead with 4 minutes left after an outstanding pass from Melo Ball to Cody Zeller for the easy dunk. Zeller had his best game of the season. That was only a couple games in, but Zeller had a double-double. Great pass from LaMelo. He wrapped it around beautifully for Cody for the easy dunk. Then, well, Charlotte got the lead. They were up, and then once they got up, the Pacers, in true Pacer fashion tonight, as soon as Charlotte will either get the lead or get right close to the lead, the Pacers somehow stretched the lead. As soon as Zeller's dunk, you saw Miles Turner knock down a three-pointer, Sabonis with a tip-in layup, and then Justin Holiday knocked down a three-pointer. McConnell got a shot, and next thing you know, Charlotte had a 1-point lead. Now they're down by 5. And they were going back and forth, teeter-tottering. Hornets got the lead. They tied the game with under a minute left in the half. But next thing you know, it was a technical foul on Charlotte. So Brogdon hit the free throw. Sabonis hit this insanely ridiculous bank shot at the end of the first half. And it's 59-55 in the first half. Your Indiana Pacers ahead. Mike Patton says, yeah, Brogdon's a great, boring player. I mean, listen, it ain't pretty, but he gets it done. Big shout outs to Pablo and big shout outs to Precious always for stopping through and always saying hello and always hi as they always come by as always. Second half, this is the Hornets half. It's just been their half all season. One of the NBA's best teams in the second half. Well, the Hornets started doing what the Hornets do. They get the lead. They started playing good basketball. I think after the flagrant foul that was called on Terry Rozier, Charlotte started waking up again. Some plays from Devontae Graham, knocked down a couple free throws, also a three-pointer. Rozier with a nice steal. Rozier with also a floater. And next thing you know, Charlotte's up by 4. But once again, the Pacers took the 4-point lead and turned it a 7-0 run in less than 2 minutes. Got a 3-point lead, and the Pacers started extending this lead further because they couldn't find ways to stop Malcolm Brogdon and McDermott started waking up, and then the Pacers started pulling away. Charlotte kept fighting back, and it seemed like every time Charlotte kept fighting back in this game, the Pacers did something. Charlotte got the lead down to 1 on Miles Bridges' three-pointer. With about a minute and a half to go in the quarter, and the next thing you know, Pacers score was 5 consecutive points in less than a minute. And at the end of 3 quarters, when LaMelo Ball grabs a rebound off of Miles Bridges' shot in the corner, Hornets down 84-80 to start the fourth quarter. I appreciate this. I appreciate the sponsor, Precious, the 10 cents. Like I said, if you're on the Happs app, by the way, donate. Always donate. Fourth quarter, 84-80 to start the quarter, and Charlotte was really in this game. Listen, this game was back and forth. Charlotte had plenty of chances to do so. What you want to do is you get down in this lead, and Charlotte, we've seen this all year. Charlotte would get the lead down to a certain number of points, and the next thing you know, they couldn't close the lead. They couldn't close the gap. They got down to 1, and then the Pacers stretched the lead out. It was a 1-point game with about 11 and a half minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Pacers stretched out to 9, literally in about 2 minutes. At this point in the game, Doug McDermott started taking the game over. Yes, not Domantas Sabonis, not Malcolm Brogdon. Doug McDermott took the game over. And normally Doug McDermott, if you go back to his days at Creighton, was a dominant scorer, okay? Very, very good three-point shooter, find ways to score, but McDermott wasn't doing it behind the three-point line. McDermott was everywhere else on the court. He scored 16 points in the fourth quarter, and every time Charlotte would seem like they would get back in this game, McDermott would hit a shot. He was everywhere in the corner. You had guys diving for loose balls. The Hornets kept fighting, and this team showed a lot of resiliency. They got the lead at close to 2 after Cody Zeller's layup, but at that point, the Pacers just took the game over and finished it off. Sabonis had a huge layup. McDermott knocked down a three-pointer. McDermott had a couple of dunks. Brogdon knocked down a three-pointer. And really, it was a lot of backdoor cuts that was caused by Domantas Sabonis being at the top of the key and hitting somebody down there. So every time he did something, it was literally just him backdoor cutting, doing everything else. and getting his teammates involved. And at that point, the game was over. Charlotte had really nothing else to prove, so nothing else to do. 116, like I said, 116-110 was the final score tonight in Spectrum Center. All right, so let's give out let's let you know leaders tonight. McDermott had a game high 28 for the Pacers. Like I said, he was everywhere in the fourth quarter. He had 16 in the fourth quarter, and it wasn't much Charlotte can do off the bench. McDermott's 28 in the game, 16 in the fourth. He outscored the entire Charlotte bench by himself. Malcolm Brogdon had 25. Sabonis had a triple-double, the 7th triple-double in Pacers history, which is crazy because he is now tied the all-time franchise record for triple-doubles. I know 7 is a crazy, insane number when you think about Russell Westbrook did like 40 the entire season. Sabonis tied Detlef Schrempf for the all-time franchise record and will probably pass it again in the season with 7 triple-doubles. He had a beautiful game tonight, 22 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. He had 5 turnovers. Miles Turner, one of the best shot blockers in the league, was in foul trouble tonight. He had 8 points to go along with 4 rebounds and 5 block shots. Hornets were led tonight by Terry Rozier, who had 20 points. Gordon Hayward had 16 points, but he really was nowhere to be found in the second half. He had 18 points from P.J. Washington to go along with 8 rebounds. And Cody Zella's first double-double of the season with 10 points and 14 rebounds. Devontae Graham had 16 points and 5 assists. Off the bench, Miles Bridges, 11 points. LaMelo Ball played 22 minutes tonight, 8 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists in his 21 minutes. Malik Monk, like I said, finally got back in rotation tonight. Looked good in 14 minutes. 7 points, 2 rebounds, 7 points and 2 assists with no turnovers as well. And so here's the question. So let's get into the game tonight, and let's find where the differences was tonight. My main man, Rated Blitz, I don't see him tonight. Oh, and by the way, I appreciate Lucky. Lucky stopped by and sponsored the show. Be like Lucky. I appreciate Lucky Me. I appreciate you, Johnny. I said we'll definitely keep the follow going up as well too. All right. So Sabonis tonight was a different type of animal tonight. Charlotte struggles. And I know the whole issue with Charlotte all season. I appreciate Brian. Always love Brian. Domantas Sabonis is a different type of center. And when you pair him next to Miles Turner, it's a dangerous duo because Miles Turner leads the NBA with blocks about 4.2. He had 5 tonight. Sabonis is so good in the post. I even asked Cody Zeller after the game tonight, what makes him so good? And he basically said how hard of a guard he is. And he says Sabonis, when he first got in the league, could already score in the post. Now that he's worked on his game so much to the point where when he gets on the perimeter, he's just as dangerous on the perimeter as he is in the post. It's hard to guard him. There was one play tonight where it was late in the shot clock, and you saw Sabonis get the ball in his hands, and he took Terry Rozier off the dribble and went left-handed off the glass with a crossover. I mean, just crossed over a guy that's almost 10 inches smaller than he is. So when you have Sabonis at the top of the key, moving around and hitting people left and right, and you saw the backdoor cuts of McDermott in the fourth quarter. You saw the play I think he had with Justin Holiday when he hit Holiday going to the basket. When you have a big that does that, there's only few bigs in the league that have that type of passing skill. You talk about Nikola Jokic in Denver, Nikola Vucevic in Orlando's really good at it. Even Joel Embiid, when he really is on, can be a good passer as a big man. Even Bam Adebayo in Miami. Those guys can control the game from the high post. Blake Griffin in Detroit when Blake Griffin's healthy. Sabonis has now reached his game out there, and you can see the passes. I mean, he has range from the three-point line, but the thing is, when you have a post that can do that, Charlotte already has issues guarding the rim. So if a guy like P.J. Washington or Cody Zeller has to go out there, somebody's going back door. And the other part was, like the Facebook user says, Doug McDermott was just phenomenal. It's like, yeah, Doug McDermott looked like Michael Jordan in the fourth quarter. McDermott was out there looking McDermott went full Creighton tonight. He went full-fledged Creighton. Like it was a Creighton-like performance, like he was in college. The question about, is it LaMelo time? LaMelo Ball wasn't stopping anything tonight. Okay, here's the reason why LaMelo Ball I didn't think was going to do much of a difference. The bench was bad tonight. Okay, yes, you talk about 11 points, and you had the 8 points and a couple of assists from LaMelo Ball, but LaMelo Ball, and let's start with Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges was a negative 30 tonight. Miles Bridges was LaMelo was a negative 24, and Biz was a negative 15. For layman's terms, people don't know plus minus. It's very simple. When those 3 guys were on the court, the Hornets kept getting outscored. It's very simple. They were just getting outscored. We go back to the first quarter. It was 13-11 when they subbed out those three, subbed out the first set of starters in the game, put Ball, Bridges, and Biombo in the game, and at the end of the quarter, it was 32-15. It's just that simple. It was 30. It was 39. It was 39, 36-19. Basically, Charlotte scored 6 points with Ball them on the court. Okay, there was nothing. LaMelo Ball was not stopping Doug McDermott from getting to the basket. I don't. If LaMelo Ball could have played 40 minutes, the Hornets might have lost by 40 points based on the plus minus that he was playing tonight. It was nothing but a surgical execution of the Pacers. What people forget about the Pacers, when you talk about the top teams in the Eastern Conference, when you say, oh, who's some of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, people are already going to say Philadelphia because they have the best record in the East. Miami is the defending conference champions. Milwaukee has had the best record in the Eastern Conference the last couple of years. Don't forget how good Boston has always been. But when you look at Indiana is really good. And here's the best part about Indiana. Karis LeVert is not even healthy, and TJ Warren is also out as well, too. Warren, if you remember, the bubble had the 50-point game in the bubble against Philadelphia. Indiana is so different, and Malcolm Brogdon is, to Mike's point, the most boring, most dangerous player probably in the league. And to me, he is probably the most underrated player in the NBA. He is a top 50 player in the league, if not even higher, but nobody pays him attention because, number one, he's very quiet. He's very to himself. He does everything, but he's just playing in Indiana. Somebody said we should have drafted Noah Vonleh over Doug McDermott. Listen, Doug McDermott brought so many vibes of Adam Morrison, it would have scared this entire city in general. Okay, Doug McDermott had a type of an offensive game that reminded people of Adam Morrison over. When Adam Morrison was at Gonzaga. Somebody says TJ Warren hates Charlotte. He's convinced. He's from North Carolina. Charlotte should have signed him a long time ago. They needed to get buckets. Facebook users also saying that Brogdon should have been an all-star. If he's not voted as one of the all-stars this year, once again, I'm not a big fan of the voting. It's really simple. Like, Brogdon is a dangerous player. And no, I'm not comparing Doug McDermott to Adam Morrison. It's just the fact of they were the same type of scorer. They were lethal in college. They got anywhere on the court, but you didn't know how they would translate in the NBA because McDermott wasn't super athletic. He wasn't, the guy that the 3-and-D guy, or you didn't think he would be able to play defense. And McDermott proved a lot of people wrong. He'll never be an all-star probably, but McDermott is a serviceable player, and like we saw tonight, he has games like this. And he is a dangerous player, especially now when everybody gets healthy. Him coming off the bench, I didn't even mention Jeremy Lamb. The Pacers are loaded. Lamb started tonight. He didn't really do much, but he's much more of a dangerous off the bench. Justin Holiday. The Pacers can run 9 players. When they get healthy, they are 9-10 deep. And it's a quality 9-10 deep. And when Indiana gets matched up in the playoffs, they're the one team I don't think in the Eastern Conference outside the top 4 or 5. They can give Brooklyn problems. They can give Miami problems. They can give Boston problems. They can give Indiana problems. They can give all the teams in the higher part of the Eastern Conference a lot of problems. But back to the Hornets. And where do we go from here? Well, Coach Mike Patton asked a question about adjusting the rotation. Well, he did make some adjustments to the rotation tonight. All right. We saw the reoccurrence of Cody Zeller back in the starting lineup. All right. But we also saw Malik Monk get back in the rotation. So Caleb Martin was out of the rotation tonight. Obviously, they tried to get more with Malik. Malik does bring one thing to the table. Okay. On this roster, there's not one player on this team that, when you can think about it, except for Gordon Hayward, can go out there and literally score 25 points on this roster on a nightly basis. And Malik Monk is that player who can do it. He's explosive enough to do it. He's the best finisher on the rim on this team. He's even Coach Brego said it in postgame. Monk is the best at the rim. And Malik even said to me tonight that he worked on it back in over the offseason. He got better at it, but what made him even more efficient is that he's gotten stronger. You saw him when he finished at the rim earlier tonight. The one thing about Malik Monk, that the reason why we haven't turned him into something, is the fact of Malik Monk has so much J.R. Smith in him. When I look at Malik Monk, he looks like he is J.R. Smith reincarnated. The only difference between J.R. Smith and Malik Monk at any point in time is because they're both super. They were both. I'm talking about J.R. Smith and Denver. They're both athletic. They both can shoot the basketball. They're both very streaky. The only difference is Malik Monk defensively doesn't give the effort all the time. J.R. Smith might not be the best defender in the world, but why was J.R. Smith on the court? Because J.R. Smith gave it all the time. He gave effort all the time. We can talk about, the streaky shooting or anything is possible. Whatever things you want to say about J.R. Smith, one thing you cannot say about J.R. Smith is he did not give you effort on the same time. Listen, you go back to J.R. Smith in Denver with Carmelo Anthony and Facebook user. He didn't pop until he got to New York. No. Go back and watch those Denver tapes. He wasn't the main guy in Denver because you had Carmelo Anthony, you had Kenyon Martin, you had Allen Iverson at one point, Chauncey Billups. But J.R. Smith, go look at his athleticism. He can do it. Now, when he got to New York, he embraced being a sixth man. I think the difference was in Denver, he was a starter. In New York, he was much more of a sixth man with the ability to shoot when he wants to. Malik Monk has that type of potential. He just has to give it. He played well defense. He actually you saw the effort in Malik Monk tonight. This Malik's game tonight reminded me of the way Malik played last season before he got suspended. You saw the effort on both ends of the court. Now, mind you, he's only played 2 games, so he's rusty, but you saw the flashes of why Mitch Kupchak says before they even drafted LaMelo Ball that he was the most talented player on this roster. Before any free agent signing, and he kept saying, he's been saying this, that Malik Monk has more talent than anybody on this roster, is the most talented player. He just has to put it all together. We saw flashes of it. We saw flashes of it tonight. The real question is, because Charlotte is struggling to score, Mike, they had to throw Monk in the rotation. As much as I love Caleb Martin and his effort, he plays very good defense, but he's not reliable on offense enough. His brother is a lights-out shooter. Cody Martin can shoot the basketball. Caleb's much more the defensive player. So it's a catch-22. Now, Monk played well. I think in the 14 minutes he played tonight, yes, I think he earned minutes. I think the way he played tonight, he earned more minutes. You saw it out there tonight. How they're going to use the rotation going forward is a real question. I know there's people asking about LaMelo Ball, why he only played 22 minutes. It was very apparent the bench didn't do anything tonight. And LaMelo being on the court, you just saw it's not just LaMelo. It was the whole second unit tonight. So there is not saying LaMelo Ball played bad because he had good moments. That pass to Zeller was phenomenal. He had some really, really good assists tonight. That shot at the end of the third quarter to cut the lead to 4. He had his moments tonight. I don't think a lineup change is going to be the answer to the question of Charlotte. The real answer to the question was Charlotte starters got the lead. For the first time I've seen in a while, the bench did not keep up the momentum on the offensive side. And when the momentum wasn't going offensively, the defensive lapses happened. Okay. So no matter if LaMelo Ball starts tonight or Miles Bridges starts tonight, they were not going to be able to stop Sabonis from backdooring them to death. They were not going to stop Doug McDermott. They weren't going to stop Doug McDermott from getting backdoor layups and easy looks at the basket. Okay. They weren't going to do that. Okay. I'm okay with LaMelo Ball trying to challenge Miles Turner at the rim. I'm okay with him challenging that. There was when Miles Turner had the block. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the turnovers he had tonight because, with the exception of the alley-oop to Malik Monk, where he missed, that's the second game in a row where he threw an alley-oop that was not on target. Okay, and that's probably because Malik hasn't played very much. I think that was Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges would have caught it, had a nice dunk, and everybody would have been happy about it. It would have been probably on YouTube. It probably been on Twitter somewhere. I think tonight LaMelo, there was times where LaMelo, listen, he slowed the game down. There's a couple times where he had the ball and was ready to go, and he slowed it down. Those are the things I like to see. Now, mind you, that one where he found PJ at the rim, where he outran everybody, that's the stuff that we see, and we see the, what's that word? The peak of what he's going to be, which is an outstanding ball control guy who can get everybody involved, has the athleticism to get to the rim, and he's a finisher at the rim. Those are the things that we all see, and those are the things that you're saying to yourself, wow, this guy is going to be something special. But like I said, tonight is a game of improvement. And when you have a game of improvement, it is what it is. I mean, it's going to be a process, and like Hornets fans have to understand that the process is going to take time. This wasn't a team that won 50 games last year. The Pacers were a team that was one of the four best teams in the Eastern Conference. This is not an overnight job. And I know that as Hornets fans, or even people who are just getting here to Charlotte, becoming fans of the Hornets, you can have the disagreement or how Borrego coaches, or you think LaMelo Ball is going to be this, or line changes of that. You can talk about the zone defense, but and why they're not playing man. Well, if you can't play zone and you can't do what you need to do, how can you earn the trust of the coaching staff to say let's play man if you can't even play zone? That's some of the things that have to be done. And really, to be honest with you, it is a work in progress. The Charlotte team didn't play much. When you're not with your teammates, and then you have key new pieces everywhere, it takes time. Cody Zeller was out, and now he's just now getting healthy. This is the third game Cody has played all year. So the fourth game he's played all year, because the first game he played 13 minutes. So it's going to take time. It's going to take adjustments. I think even when JB says something to the magnitude of it's still tinkering, it's still a work in progress. Well, think about it. There is no practice time. When you play 6 games in 8 nights, you can't go out and have full-fledged practices the next day. Guys have to maintain their bodies. For when people say, well, these guys are paid for it, but you got to understand, these guys have practices every day. They have games. They have to get their bodies recovered. So when you don't have time, they had a week off, and it was really, I think they had rest on the first game back of the trip against Chicago. So it's a weird year, and it's really a development year. And I'm going to keep saying this until, I guess, the end of the season. This is a developmental year. If they win 30 games this year, it would be a success, I think, because this team was at a completely different place last year. Couple notes before we check out of here. The Greensboro Swarm, their schedule has now been released, and we'll go over that in just a second. But quick notes from tonight's game, things that just odds and ends. Like I said, Mitch Sabonis is now tied for all-time lead in Pacers history in triple doubles. On the Hornets side of things, Devontae Graham did score 16 points, but he did something. He became the 5th fastest player in NBA history to hit 300 career three-pointers. His 127th game, he has 300 career three-pointer tonight. Congratulations, Devontae. The only 5 players in history to actually do that before him was Duncan Robinson, Luka Doncic, Damian Lillard, and Trae Young. 3 All-Stars and a guy in Duncan Robinson that was invited as one of the 60 players to go to Team USA. So he's an extremely, very, really good company. The Pacers outscored the Hornets tonight. An interesting stat: Hornets are 3-8 when a team outscores them in the post as well too. So same 2 teams will kick off on Friday night inside Spectrum Center, second game of a 2-game series at Spectrum Center, 7 p.m. Tip-off time. So let's get everybody caught up on Greensboro, and I'll let you guys know about the television swap. All right, so the Greensboro Swarm will take flight. And then their G League schedule will take place next week, starting on February 11th. They'll play a nice set of 15 games in Orlando. Good news for Swarm fans and Hornets fans. 3 of the games will be on television. Their opening game on February 11th at 3 p.m. will be against the Westchester Knicks. They'll play the G League team. Yes, the G League Ignite team. So Hornets fans, this is the game you want to watch. This game is taking place on February 21st at 3 p.m., and this is the game you want to watch. If you watch any Swarm game this year, this is the game you want to watch, because the G League Ignite team has 4 guys that played high school basketball that will be eligible for the NBA draft, Jalen Green being one of them, Jonathan Kuminga being another one, Kai Soto. They will have the high schoolers that stepped in that are playing for the G League squad. That potentially in the NBA squad. Kilo Benny, appreciate the what's up, my brother? Appreciate it, my man. Always. All right. So when you look at any of the games, this is the game you want to watch. If you are a Hornets fan, Swarm fan, or if you're looking to the draft, or if you're starting to figure out who are some of the best young kids coming in the draft, this is the game you want to watch. Jalen Green, to me, is arguably the best player in this class. I know Cade Cunningham is getting a lot of love at Evan Mobley, Jalen Suggs, but Jalen Green is my favorite player in this class. Super athletic, about 6'5", 6'6", is a wing scorer. If I had my choice to take anybody in this class, I would take him. Between him and Evan Mobley, Green is a monster. Jonathan Kuminga, reclassified. He would have been the number one player in his class next year, but he is in this draft class. He would have phenomenal athlete. More of a swing player. Kai Soto, the big kid from overseas. I think it's from the Philippines. 7'3", I want to say, but I think he's up to 230, 240. Very, very skilled big guy. More athletic than people give credit for. This is the team you want to watch, and this is the game you want to watch. If any of the three games. The third game is against the Fort Wayne Mad Ants. This game is on NBA TV on March 5th at 11 in the morning. Fort Wayne is one of the best teams in the G League, have always been consistently one of the best teams in the league. And like I said, the Swarm are playing 15 games. They are playing, like I said, they're playing everybody from Long Island. They're playing every team at least. There's no team they play twice on the schedule. So this is a team that also, if you're also a Hornets fan, 5 of the guys that were on this team are now being sent down there. Vernon Carey is one of them. Nick Richards is one. They sent Grant Riller down there. They also have Nate Darling, who's down there as well, too. They had the top overall pick in the G League draft, which was Admiral Schofield. So those 5 guys who are also part, I think, of where Greensboro is going. But as a fan of the Hornets, or if you're trying to know more about Vernon Carey and see how good they are, this is a great opportunity to catch them down there. They're going to get plenty of playing time. They're going to get plenty of reps. Most importantly, why this is great for these kids why they're not on the roster. Because, listen, they were lost. Okay, a lot of the second round picks were lost. Carey was still trying to figure out the NBA. So was Nick Richards. They didn't have summer league. They didn't have a long, extensive training camp. They didn't get a chance to work with the coaches because when they got drafted, they were in training camp a week later. And not to mention, these guys didn't even finish college basketball last season. They were done in March before the tournament. So they had to get in the weight room. They had to get reps. And when you're trying to get to a regular season, you really didn't have the time to develop them. The good news is Jay Hernandez, who's one of Coach Borrego's lead assistants, is the head coach down in Greensboro now. They're running a lot of the same sets and a lot of the same offense that you see on the big squad. So the good news is if one of those guys, Richards or Carey, somehow pops off and has a humongous G League while down in Orlando, don't be surprised if they hit the rotation when they get back because their season ends. Now, if they don't make the G League Elite 8, I think it's 8 teams in the playoffs, the final game for them is March 6th. Okay? March 6th. So that means they'll be back in time for the second half of the season, which is critical because the G League season is only 15 games. So they're playing 15 games in literally about a little less than a month. Those guys will get plenty of reps. If they do well and they don't make the G League playoffs, expect somebody to be hopefully cracking this rotation because they'll be in game shape. They'll be up to speed of what's going on. They just have to use the teammates. And I think in Vernon Carey or Nick Richards' case, or if not both, they can definitely be a help for this team. Second news of the night before we kick out of here. All right, for those who are used to watching the Hornets on Fox Sports Southeast, there had been an announcement this morning that, as we all know, Sinclair bought the Fox Sports Regional Networks last year and did not really announce what's going on. Jalen McDaniels, thank you, Facebook user. Jalen McDaniels is going down there as well, too, giving him more time, more reps, because he really wasn't getting reps on the big squad. All right, last piece of news before I get out of here. Like I said, Fox Sports was bought by Sinclair, and I know there's been a big fight about where to find Fox Sports because it was off places like YouTube and other streaming services. And now the announcement came this morning that Bally's is now buying the naming rights to the Fox Sports Regional Network. So 2 changes are going to happen. Number one, all the regional sports networks will lose the Fox name right between now and right about the start of baseball season. So within the next 6 weeks or so, that's going to be a change. It's going to be now called Bally Sports. The second change will affect Hornets fans. For those who remember that Fox Sports Carolinas was the home of the Charlotte Hornets, it will now be moved because in the realignment of the networks, out of the 21 networks, 2 networks will now be disbanded, which will be Fox Sports Carolinas and Fox Sports Tennessee. They'll both be disbanded in the next couple of weeks, with the Nashville Predators, who are on Fox Sports Tennessee, now going to Fox Sports Southeast to go join the Hawks and the Braves and all the Atlanta teams down there, while Fox Sports South will now pick up the Hurricanes and the Charlotte Hornets. So In the coming weeks, Charlotte will switch their games over to Fox Sports South instead of Fox Sports Carolinas. Give everybody a heads up. It's going to come in the next couple of weeks, and it's now going to be now known as Bally Sports South, and that's where the Hornets and the Hurricanes will be going there. And like I said, Nashville Predators will now be going to Bally Sports Southeast in the name change. I think they did change two of the names. The LA brand, which was Prime Ticket, is now Bally Sports, I think, Los Angeles. And Sports Time Ohio is now being switched to Bally Sports Great Lakes. So, yes, there's going to be some switching going on among Hornets fans. Just realize when you're looking for Fox Sports South, Fox Sports Carolinas in the next couple of weeks, it might not be there anymore. Remember, Bally Sports is now taking over it, and it'll be Bally Sports South. All right, guys. Before I head out of here, once again, thanks everybody for stopping in the show tonight. For everybody who pops up as Facebook user, go ahead and download the Happs app and subscribe to me. That way, when your comments come on screen, it doesn't say Facebook user. Big shout out to everybody on YouTube. I'm not about the Washington Wizards. Listen, I don't know. That'll be another topic for another day or for another show. The Hornets are playing the Wizards soon, so I will definitely talk Wizards when I get here. And that person that says I look like a bus driver, well, I mean, I get paid to be a journalist. Do you? Very simple. All right, so catch me on Twitter at Danny DANNY number 3 Thompson on Twitter. Oh, and also responsible for us who's like a bus driver. Catch me covering NBA games and also your favorite sports teams as well too. And I'm pretty sure you'll be driving a bus later. All right, big shout out to everybody who stopped in tonight. Like I said, everybody who donated, sponsored, liked, shared, tagged. Like I said, I appreciate everybody. We'll be back on the air Friday night. Like I said, after the game, hopefully right around 10 to 10:30 Eastern time here on Happs, Facebook, and YouTube live. Like I said, I'm Danny Thompson of the 3-Point Conversion. Check me out on the 3pointconversion.com as well as around the association.com, as well as check out myself covering the Hornets on a daily basis with Controversial Raphael at the 3-Point Conversion page on YouTube. So I'll check you guys later. Also at the same time, everybody stay safe. It's COVID outside. Peace out, everybody. See you on Friday.